A very good evening to everyone. I, Zai Rajeshirke from NASM, would be your host for the day. We welcome you to the Masterclass hosted by Nagindas Khanwala College, NKC Malad. Founded in July 1983, it is one of the best colleges in the western suburb of Mumbai. It has been imparting quality education since the last 4 decades. The college is affiliated to the University of Mumbai and re-accredited by UGC NAC with A grade. The college has shown tremendous growth in a short span of time and has been conferred with the autonomous college status in 2016-17. Today's initiative is by NASM, a specialized sports management educator, which is a part of the education group that has been offering its services since last 20 years. It has collaborated with multiple universities, colleges, and institutions in India and abroad to provide the specialized industry-relevant education services. It has collaborated with Nagindas Khanwala College at Mumbai, Vivekanand Global University at Jaipur, Swarnim Gujarat Sports University at Gujarat, and the Dubai vertical under the name Nest Academy of Management Education with Bolton University, Dubai. Today, we are in conversation with Ms.Anjali Shah. She is a co-founder of PIFA and an executive committee member at All India Football Federation. She is passionate about football with a dream to see Indian women's football to have millions of followers. She has a specialty in strategic planning and managing personnel. She also she's worked on all the verticals of the company, like managing the operations of the academy, coaches education, sports career counseling, planning and executing, marketing, operations, events and public relations, overlooking the business development from the professional team and PIFA tours. Her PIFA Foundation was established in 2007 and it is a non-profit part of PIFA Sports, which was established in 2003. PIFA Foundation is a registered NGO that supports the underprivileged community living in the Kolaba fishing village in South Mumbai. Over the years, they have nurtured some amazing talent who have gone on to PIFA is a grassroots football development initiative dedicated to raising the bar in football training across the country. In a very short time, they have demonstrated success through the organization of the Premier Football League, PFL, Football Carnival, and various coaching camps. We're really glad to have Anjali ma'am between us.
Good evening, everyone, and it's a pleasure to be here on this platform. I hope all of you all are safe and sound and healthy in these difficult times that we are all facing. Hello, Zai. I think Zai is frozen.
I would really want to know what interests you the most about.
Football is called the beautiful game the world over, and there is a reason why it is called the beautiful game. The lessons that you learn in football stay with you long after you have hung up your boots. Team management, discipline, time management, learning to lose and to win with grace, staying fit. There are so many benefits of playing football. And I think these various aspects of football is what made me fall in love with them. Besides that, it is a magical game. Just seeing those 22 players on a field do what they do is completely mesmerizing, and that's what made me fall in love with this beautiful game. And especially for women, I think women's football is a very, very, very beautiful product because every woman can actually tell her story through football.
Ma'am?
Yeah, now I can hear you, Zai.
Yes. Really interesting to know this other side of football. Of course, all of us know how interesting it is to play and watch a football match. But yes, the aspects that you've told us is really something that we need to focus upon. That's what the sports gives us. Ma'am, we wanted to know what was the idea behind the establishment of PIFA Foundation, this non-profit organization that you've been working for so long now.
Basically, we started PIFA Academy in 2003 because at that time there was absolutely no professional football coaching available for anyone in India. And when I say anyone, means absolutely anyone. Basically, children who went to school played the game with their PT sirs, and that's about what football training was available. And my husband, who is a very passionate football player himself and has represented his state, played football abroad. And during his graduation in England, he realized the difference in training between what is being offered in India and what was offered in England. And he wanted Indian children to also be exposed to the kind of training that was available abroad. And this is what helped him to tie up with academies in UK and bring them down to India. And PIFA did technical tie-ups with all these universities and exposed Indian children to the latest methods of training that were being available abroad. Now, what happened is naturally all this came at a cost, and as soon as we started this, I started getting calls from hundreds and hundreds of children from all over Mumbai, from all over the country, saying that, we really can't afford going abroad. Is there anything you can do for us? And of course, we did want to reach out to the actual sons of the soil to speak, who are actually the true footballers of this country. And we decided we should set up some sort of a establishment where we can reach out to the youth who cannot afford to pay for football but who are very, very passionate about the game. So this was the thought behind the establishment of the foundation, to reach out and to empower youth through football, to help them, keep them off the streets, keep them away from bad habits, give them direction in life, teach them a skill, and empower them through this beautiful game. And this is exactly why we started the PIFA Foundation in 2007. We started off with a small pocket in Kolaba fishing village. However, I'm very proud to say today
मम्मीचा फोन पटकन आणून दे मला इकडे.
PIFA Foundation has work going on all across Mumbai. We have a center in Bhayandar. We do work in Ray Road. The work in Kolaba continues. We have work happening in Parel area. So yes, the foundation has spread its wings and is working with children from all across Mumbai. In fact, we are also working with a lot of people in other cities as well. Children who cannot afford to pay a fee yet deserve to be trained with the best.
How interesting. So we're happy to learn that, not only the Kolaba area, but the other students and all the students who wish to play football, you're able to reach them. And I think more people can join in order to branch out even more. Something really interesting to
Absolutely.
know. Yes. Ma'am, what is your, what is your take on games like football empowering women? That's the area of your work majorly.
Women's football is something that is very, very close to my heart. In 2007, I was asked to be the manager of the Maharashtra State women's football team, and that was my first brush with women's football. And believe me, I have never looked back since then. Being with a team of 20-25 girls is such an exhilarating experience, especially for someone like me who has two sons. You know, I have
Oh,
always craved to have a daughter, and suddenly God blessed me with a team of 25 girls at a time. So I never looked back after that. And since 2007, I have dedicated my life to being involved with women's football and to growing the game for them. Now, what is it that actually football does for girls? Let me give you a few details about that. So, football has physical, mental, and social benefits for girls. See, most of us um, are told in our childhood that football is not a girl's game. It is
Right.
typically, stereotypically, only a boy's game. Okay, so a lot of girls do not get into the game because of that. But that is not true. You have to look at studies that actually show the link between girls' sport participation and positive health and social outcomes. Girls develop better physical appearance of their body, of their self image after they participate in football. And talking
Nice.
about today's time, in a country like India,
Hmm.
in Mumbai, most girls are safe, but in other
Hmm.
parts of the country, girls are not safe. I think the
Right.
most important reason for a girl to play football today is to actually physically be able to look after themselves in case of any sort of an emergency. Mentally, girls tend to stay longer in the education system, have more self confidence, they have a better way of dealing with mental pressure, and they get a structure by being involved in football. So these are the
Yes.
mental side of it. As far as socially, I think girls who play in football go on to become their community leaders. Once they see the physical and mental benefits that they go through, they actually reach out to the other girls in their society and become
Right.
community leaders in their society to
Right.
ensure that other girls also learn to benefit from this game. So these are the physical, mental, and social benefits I believe football can have on a girl's life.
Interesting to know your perspective of football and women. I think what you're saying is totally agreed, and it's more of a confidence building for all these girls. Eventually, it will help them a lot. And like you say, you teach one girl, and she's going to educate the whole society. But
Absolutely.
yes, and the moment you said you being the manager for 25 girls just reminded me of Chak De India's plot, Ravan ki Lanka and Sena. I hope you've got.
Absolutely.
Is it? I thought
I,
you had some
I
experience.
I've had very, very good experiences with all my girls' teams, but of course, we've also had lots of fun. And traveling with a girls' team, it's an experience itself. I think I could write a book about all the fun experiences that we've had. See, I have been a very different manager compared to what the typical manager needs to be. Okay, so I have been strict, of course. Of course, I expect discipline, but I've also allowed the girls to have fun, to express themselves, to be able to be a part of the team without any pressure. And I think that has been the secret of why today, even after 20 years, I can reach out to any of the girls who have started off as an under 13 or under 14 player with me, and I can call them today and ask them to talk about their experience with football, and they would stop everything that they're doing and come and talk for me. That's the bond I have created with these girls.
I think that's the best part about team games and team sports. You just the bond remains forever, I guess.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, moving ahead, like we know how important role football can play. So, is how do we improve participation of women in football? Not only football, but other sports for that matter. It's really going to help them, and it's the need of the hour.
I totally agree with you. Sports is the need of the hour in India. And for me to be able to answer that question, we have to address why girls actually don't come into sports. Okay. Now, to look at why girls don't come into sports, you have to again go back to the cultural norms. Sports are not meant for girls. Girls, usually like doing girly activities like dancing, cooking, playing with dolls, those kinds of things. I'm talking about very young girls.
Correct.
Then there is a misconception among parents that girls are not physically suitable for the demands of physical activity. There is academic pressure for girls to excel in studies. Girls like to focus on more female centric activities like dancing, singing, drawing. Parents want to keep girls away from boys and thus from boy
Yeah.
centric activities like sports.
right,
Okay,
right.
so to get more girls in sports, first we have to educate parents. Okay, when you educate parents of a girl about the mental, social, and physical benefits, parents will allow their girls to go into the game. Now, this is looking at why girls don't enter the game, but there are girls who enter the game, but then they stop playing. Now
Yeah.
you have to address those issues as well. Okay, sometimes parents don't want girls to continue playing when they get into adolescence. They feel
Hmm.
that once the girl gets into puberty, it's not right for her to play. They feel her body will not be able to take the pressure. Then there are restrictive gender norms that weigh heavily on their ability to participate in community life. So there are certain gender specific roles that are given to girls who become teenagers, and typically in I would say rural India, at least I don't think playing football is one of those. So parents feel it is not community acceptable to be playing a game when you have other responsibilities in community life. Then
Correct.
parents like to keep their daughters in the domestic sphere, to basically protect them from the dangers outside the house. Now,
Right.
this I think is wrong, because I think just keeping your daughter in the house is not going to keep her safe. There are lot of instances where girls are abused by people known to them within
No.
the four walls of the house. Okay, and parents also want girls to focus more on academics, and they feel they will not be able to focus on both sports and academics together.
Together.
Well, here again, there is a need to educate parents that effective time management skills can be imparted to these girls, and that is something we take very seriously at the foundation. We work out time management charts for girls where they can actually focus on their studies, focus on football, as well as play an important role in the home as per their parents' demands. You know, girls coming from these backgrounds also need to help out at home, and we understand that. So we work out time management charts for these girls, and we ask them to stick to these time management charts so that they can do everything as well as do football. Okay. Also, there are very few collective spaces where girls can safely play. Okay. So for getting more girls into the sport or in football or any other sport in India, I think it's very important the government focus on many areas that are probably exclusively for girls during
Okay.
the hour that the girls are practicing there, so that the
Right.
girls actually feel safer doing these activities. If parents knew that there are certain areas which are exclusive for girls and they
Ah.
can play exclusively during those hours, I'm sure parents
Yeah.
will be happy,
Hours. Right.
yeah. Then also sometimes the behavior of boys in public spaces inhibits girls from going. um, Adolescence is a time when you see a gender disparity in opportunity, and expectations are very pronounced at that point. You know, so these are the things that parents feel that girls become adolescents and enter womanhood, their bodies will not be able to take the physical load of a sport. Now, these are things that we again need to explain to parents that girls have played sport for many years and will
Yeah.
play sport for many more years. Once again, we have to weigh the benefits versus the negative points and
Correct.
get girls to actually decide for themselves um, whether they want to continue once they become older.
Right, right. So it's more about awareness is something to different age categories, including parents, the boys, and the girls, all of them. So maybe that could be one of the ways wherein we can promote participation and, like you specified, specified hours and timings where girls can be playing. So how usually they do for swimming most of the times. They have those. So it invites more girls to come in at that point of time.
Absolutely, absolutely. I would say parents play an important role. Boys play
Yes.
an important role. How boys view girls, whether they encourage them, whether they make fun of them, whether they are, their whole attitude toward girls playing football. All these are very important things for more girls to come into the sport. And of course, having exclusive spaces for girls to play in will all increase the participation of girls in football and any other sport in the country.
Any other sports, right? So whoever is associated with the coaching aspect of the sports can try and look into these areas and help us facilitate with specified timings, and I think that's going to improve and help not only us. It's not a task of one person, but all of us collectively being aware about this is really going to help us, right?
Absolutely.
Yes. Ma'am, moving ahead, how important is commercialization into sports, and how can that be brought into women's football currently? So if we have some thoughts on that.
Basically, commercialization is about media exposure of a sport. Okay. When a sport gets media exposure, you say the game has got commercialized. I think
Right.
today it is one of the most important aspects for sports, whether it's men's sports or women's sports.
Women's
Once
sports.
you get media exposure, if you get a major company sponsor of an event, you're likely to get prime time TV coverage. You will get greater advertising revenue. You will be exposing the sport to a large number of people. You will have more fans. You will be able to improve the profitability of the local sports club. And eventually, the entire ecosystem and economy around the sport will get developed. And this is what is very, very important for community spirit to improve and for more and more people to get involved in the game, you know. And I think women's sport needs commercialization in a very, very, very big way. In fact, one of the five points that FIFA is going to focus on in the strategic development plan for the next couple of years is the commercialization and sponsorship of women's sports. And
Right.
the FIFA directive will be then given to all the member associations, and the member associations will thereby focus within their own countries on how we can commercialize the game more and get more sponsors into women's football.
Right, right. So, like you specified, ma'am, media really plays an important role, which brings us to our next question, which is, how important is spectatorship? And so, improving the fan culture basically. So, if we could connect these a bit.
I would say spectators to a sport is like food to the human body. You know, one cannot do without the other. It is so essential. You know, you can survive for a few days without food, but eventually, without food, you're going to die. And it's the same thing I can say about spectators and a sport. You can probably survive for a little while without spectators, but at the end of the day, if you do not have spectators, you will not have fans, and your club will shut down. Fan development is a very, very important. So your spectators are your fans. The fans who come to
Hmm.
watch your games are your spectators. So both of
Spectators.
them are very important. They both part of the same network, fans and supporters. Yet both of them are also very, very important for the survival of a club. You have to have a proper fan development movement within your club. You should focus more on developing your fans and your supporters than actually just winning and losing and performance of the club. You know, winning and losing happens. You can change your tactics, your strategy, and you can improve your game. But once
Right.
you do not manage the spectators well and they get angry with you and they will never come back. Okay? So from day one, you have to focus on developing your fans, continuously engaging with your fans, reminding them when the games are, offering them information on how a match day is going to be, finding every convenient way to make their life easy to come and watch the game is what you need
Right.
to develop for
Right.
establishing a good fan base and a good supporters base.
Very true, ma'am. Ma'am, just a random question. Like we understand the importance of fans, but we want to know you are the fan of which club of football?
I'm a Liverpool supporter, so this is
Okay,
a
so
fabulous year for me. This
you
year
have
has
a
been
big fan
fabulous
now.
for me. Yes, we waited 30 years to actually get winning. And in India, I support my own club, PIFA. I
Right.
am a big supporter of my own club, my men's team, my women's team, my 18, 13, 15. Indian club is PIFA, and internationally I support Liverpool.
Liverpool. No, that's the commitment that a fan gives, waiting for those 30 years and still watching them every single year.
And this year has been very trying for us because when the COVID situation started, I was so disappointed. I said, "Oh my God, we are so close to it, yet we are so far away from it." But we hung in there, and the
Yes,
EPL restarted, and
yes.
yeah, we were able to see the team lift that cup a few days ago, and that was really worth the wait.
Worth the wait. Absolutely. I'm speaking about this pandemic and COVID, it has affected all the sectors, all the ways it's possible. And, like speaking about EPL, that was also conducted without spectators in the stadium. So, what do you think would be the scenario post COVID? Is there some measures that, the Football Federation is taking, or you as a club owner? So, what can be done if you could give a thought to it, basically?
So basically, the COVID has affected everyone very, very badly, and it has definitely affected sports in a very, very bad way. See, sports, by the very nature of it, requires physical contact with other players, and
Yes.
unless you can really spend very, very heavily on testing, there's very little that can be done.
All
So,
right.
unfortunately, in India, we have not yet been able to find the funds or means to be able to test players so regularly that they can actually start resuming games even with behind closed doors, like it's happening in Europe and in UK. Um, I think what everyone needs to do during these times is to actually focus on their physical and mental fitness. Keep
Okay.
yourself active to stay both mentally and physically fit. You can do a lot of research. You can look at, you can watch videos. You can, analyze your previous games that have been recorded. Use this entire time for research. And this pandemic ends, once this
Hmm.
pandemic ends, of course, we will need to have the highest standards for physical
Hygiene,
safety,
safety, and
hygiene.
yeah.
Absolutely, safety and physical hygiene is going to be very, very important. Um, for, clubs will have to focus on funds for testing players. Okay, that's going
Right.
to be a very, very important part because it's so easy to, contaminate the entire team if you're not careful. You know, so physical distancing, probably playing with a mask. They're going to be, I mean, I don't know what it is. Playing with a mask, of course, seems a little improbable because of the lack of oxygen that
Right.
you experience while wearing a mask. But I'm sure you can keep your hands clean, and if the players are tested and keeping all equipment sanitized at all times,
Right.
keeping spectators to a minimum. You know,
Hmm.
these are things that every club will have to take very seriously once the game
Right.
resumes.
Right.
And I think initially we will have to play behind closed doors to ensure not to spread this out to the general public. But I'm sure there are good days coming ahead, and there will be a vaccine pretty soon.
Yes.
So I'm sure sports will move back to the position it usually
Right.
was in.
Right. I think it just adds a little more responsibility on the media and the broadcast industry, you know,
It does. It does. Absolutely, it does.
to keep us
Everyone will.
engaged.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Right. Ma'am, whenever we talk about football, there's one of the common questions that everyone has in their brains, and everybody wants to know an expert's advice and opinion about I League and ISL. So, what are the yes? So, what are the formats, and which one would you prefer? And basically, the best points of both can be learned always.
See, basically now the ISL has become the top level of Indian football. The I League has now become the second division.
Right.
Initially, the ISL was a standalone tournament, and the I League was the top division, and I League second division was the second level of the AIFF.
Right.
However, now the ISL has become the top level, and the I League and I League second division have become the second and third division respectively. So
Oh,
basically, I've always believed that the ISL has positives and negatives.
yes.
And
Yes.
I think it's best for everyone to focus on the positives and move on in life rather than
Exactly.
highlight the negatives. Initially, of course, there was no relegation promotion. So I felt that is a disadvantage for football.
Hmm.
Football
Hmm.
should have promotion and relegation.
Yes.
However, the format of the ISL, the way the money was being spent, the entire ideology behind running the football team, the professional outlook,
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
media, the sponsors, the broadcasters, everything was very professional and on par with
Yes.
how things were being done abroad. And all that was very positive and was very good to see. For once, football players were getting paid very well, and a lot
Yeah.
of Indian players also got an opportunity to get good salaries, to play alongside very very well established foreign players. See, like I said, focus on the positives. If you can
Yes.
up your game by playing against really talented foreigners, why not?
Hmm.
Why
Hmm.
not?
Right.
You know. Having said that, the I League has been something very close to our hearts. PIFA has played the I League second division for 5 times,
Wow.
and there's something very traditional about the I League. You know,
Yeah.
the love for the game, the way the players play, the format of the game, everything about it is Indian, and
Yeah.
it's representative of what Indian football actually was, and it was beautiful. It really was beautiful. I wish there was some way to actually marry the two, the ISL with the I League. But yeah, those are just my views. Right now, I feel within the next couple of years there will be a possibility of an I League club actually being able to get promoted to the ISL, and that is very
Amazing.
very positive.
I think that's going to add a lot of competition.
Definitely, it will add competition. It'll make all the I League team owners also far more serious about their investment. They're going to take this whole game far more seriously, and they're going to invest correctly and properly into how they can actually compete with the ISL teams.
Right, right. So, both of them remain equally important for the game. And of course, more developments can be made and alliances could be made, which is going to work the best for the game football. Right.
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely.
Ma'am, on that note, we wanted to know, what alliances have been planned for Indian women's football. So, because you're working very closely on this aspect, I think you'll be the right person to actually throw some light on that.
I'll be very, very happy to give you information about that. I've been involved with women's football for almost 20 years now. And like I said earlier, I have really enjoyed the lockdown actually because for the last 5 or 6 years, I've been wanting to do something pertaining to women's football, and I just haven't had the time. I mean, every time I started doing something, something came up, and the nature of our industry is such that you're pretty much hands on doing a lot of things. You're doing administration, you're doing marketing, you're actually running operations, you're looking for sponsors, you're looking for marketing options, you're managing your social media. There are a lot of things you need to do. And so I've never really had the time to sit down and chart out a plan as to what needs to be done. I've created a fantastic network of people involved in the women's game over the years, and somehow I wanted to connect all the dots. So finally, during the lockdown, I started doing some women-centric webinars in the month of May, and I had over 14 webinars completely focused around women's football. And all the women's webinars were from a player's perspective, a coach's perspective, an administrator's perspective, a team owner's perspective. and I got everyone's perspective, a fan's perspective, a brand who wants to be involved with the game, the business of football. And those 14 webinars that I did got me thinking that
Hmm.
it would be fantastic to actually have a platform where all these stakeholders who I was in touch with could actually interact with one another to actually develop women's football. So
Nice.
that's exactly what the Indian Women's Football Alliance is all about. We are launching in August, towards the middle of August. I'll keep you all posted about the launch dates. We are
Yes.
in the process of finalizing everything. We are working on our website. We are working on all our collateral material. Everything's in the process right now. The Indian Women's Football Alliance is going to be a place where even a person sitting in a small remote village in any part of India can access football resources that will help them actually reach the national team. We are going to
Wow.
provide football training resources, management skills to start a football club. We are going to start every value added resource that we can provide coaches and individual players so they can actually improve their game and take it to the next level. Now, all of this, the membership is going to be free. And of course, the more you work towards developing women's football, the more you will be rewarded with more valued resources. So this is what I have planned, and this is not something that I'm going to do alone. The Indian Women's Football Alliance is going to have schools, NGOs, government organizations, state associations, just
Right.
about everybody. People who provide services, it could be doctors, it could be physiotherapists, nutritionists, sports
Right.
psychologists. Everyone's going to be involved in this endeavor. And I encourage every single person to get involved. The Indian Women's Football Alliance has a mission in
Hmm.
keeping with FIFA's vision. FIFA has
Right.
a vision to increase women's participation in sport from 30 million to 60 million.
Yes.
The Indian Women's Football Alliance is going to reach 10 million
Wow.
followers by 2026. Yeah. And by followers, I don't mean football players. I'm not going to create 10 million football players. I wish I could, but I'm
Yeah.
going to be a little realistic. I'm going to be a little realistic. I will start off by creating 10 million followers. 10 million is 100 lakhs. I want
Yeah.
100 lakh followers of Indian women's football by 2026. It's not tomorrow, it's not day after, it is a proper 5-year planning
Okay.
that has gone into this. And we are working with a whole lot of agencies, individuals, associations, and federations that's going to help us reach this target, because I believe when you have 10 million followers, automatically the entire ecosystem of women's football is going to get a boost.
Right.
Once the entire ecosystem gets a boost, once women's football is recognized as a industry in India, I think the game will get the much needed boost that it lacks today. That is my
Right.
dream. And eventually, I believe that someday the Indian women's team will reach the FIFA World Cup faster than the men's team. All the best to the men's team also. But I do believe because the women's ranking is significantly better, we will be able to reach the FIFA World Cup faster. And of course, the AIFF is doing a fantastic job with the national team, hosting international events like they are doing the Under
Yes.
17 Women's World Cup, the Under 22 Women's Cup, everything, Asia Cup, everything goes towards creating a legacy to developing the game, girls' game in India. And
Right.
I think basically it has also a lot to do with not just the game itself, but how we can actually empower women through football. I think today women in India can do with that empowerment. We
Yes,
need to see women in leadership roles, whether in football or in other spheres of life. I
right.
think any girl who starts off playing football in her formative years will only go on to become a leader later on in life because that's what the game does to you. It makes you a leader. My association in the game has been for 20 years and it has encouraged me to actually this has been a fantastic experience for me. I was never a football player. I used to be an athlete in school. Uh, I
Okay.
used to I used to run 100 meters, 200 meters, hurdles, high jump, long jump,
Wow.
athletics basically.
You got it.
However, when I got involved with this game, I saw the benefits of this game, what this game can do for a girl. And I felt this is one thing that can actually change the face of women's status in Indian society. And that's exactly why I want this alliance where everyone will help each other and actually uplift women in the country.
It actually gives goosebumps with the thought of Indian women's football team playing and competing at FIFA. The moment you said that, yes, of course, it's really interesting for any sports enthusiast to be learning about it more and trying to achieve as much as possible. It's really interesting to know, ma'am, and we're really glad that things shape up and fall in place, and we'll be having more number of people uh, trying to build on these things. um, Ma'am, I remember you telling me about one an contest announcement that we were wanting to make. So if all of us could get to know about it, maybe we'll try and participate and, like we're saying, merging hands with as many people as possible.
Okay, now all of y'all have heard of my plan. The
Yes.
plan of the alliance is basically to connect all the stakeholders. The contest for all the NASM students is basically point one,
Hmm.
make a list of all the stakeholders you think are involved with the women's game. Okay?
Okay.
And point two, make a plan for the alliance. All right? I already have a plan, but I am always open to opinion and I'm always open to change for great good opinions. Yeah? So, this is the contest for all your students. First, make a list of all the stakeholders you think are involved in women's football, not only players, just about anyone. Think of a match day scenario. Look around you. Imagine you are in a football stadium where a women's match is going on. Look around who are all the people involved in that game, whether in the stadium or outside the stadium. Secondly, make a plan for the alliance. Three, best proposals will
Hmm.
get an internship with the alliance,
Ah,
and I hope all of you participate in this. And you all can get my email address. I will put it in the chat section.
yes.
Take your time. Don't do it in a hurry. Take your time. Put some thought into it, and send me the list of stakeholders and your plan for the alliance in a
Right.
PowerPoint presentation format with about probably 30 to 35 slides.
Right. Right.
That's the
Right.
plan I want for the alliance, and I will type in my email address in the chat box, and all of y'all can email me your presentations. Like I
Right.
said, three winners will get informed about them winning on all our social media handles
Hmm.
and Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere PIFA handles are, you all are going to get a mention and you will win a 1 year's internship with the Alliance. This is going to be a very, very, very exciting project where you will get to work with not only nationally acclaimed experts but also international experts. So I do hope all of you participate in this contest and share your ideas as to what is the right way forward for this alliance.
Interesting. Maybe, more brains working on it is going to come up with major solutions and rather interesting ideas, is what we can say. Ma'am, one thing, whenever we always talk about football, it's driven by FIFA and AIFF, so the channel is that way. What exactly is the role of the state government or central government? So whether it is tournaments, whether it is promotion of the game. So how exactly is the federation and the government working together?
The federation. So okay, so FIFA is the football governing body in the world,
Right.
and under FIFA comes the Asian Football Confederation, and under the AFC comes AIFF, and
AIFF.
under AIFF come the state associations, and under the state associations come your district associations.
Right.
So that is the hierarchy. All right.
Correct.
Now, parallelly to this, we also have the sports ministry. Okay.
Yes.
The sports ministry basically works on developing the game at a national level, at a state level, and at a district level, and employs coaches, experts, just the
Right.
way the federation does. The
Other sport.
federations are focused on one sport, whereas the country through SAI, which is the Sports
Yes.
Authority of India,
India.
works on a variety of sports. So basically, both of them do pretty much the same thing. The federation is in charge of the state tournaments, the national tournaments. At the same time, even SAI conducts tournaments and development and training programs.
Right.
However, now in football, there is a common platform where both of them actually work together. It's called the
Nice.
Khelo India, the Khelo
Yes.
India tournament in football, where, in fact, as a part of the legacy program of the FIFA Under 17 tournament, um, AIFF, along with Khelo India, is going to conduct tournaments for under 17, under 15, and under 13 girls. Now, this
Nice.
is an attempt to get younger girls first at district level, then at state level, then at national level. So basically, they're reaching out to a larger number of girls who are going to get chance to play in these tournaments and be scouted as a part of this tournament. That is where, in a very exciting move, both the federation and the government are coming together and working on this project.
Wow. So I think, it has been two parallel government and the federation working towards it. And Khelo India is it's a kind of both of them coming together and trying to promote the game and
Absolutely,
provide a platform. Interesting.
absolutely, absolutely.
Ma'am, what is your opinion about Khelo India starting its centers? So I think that's a new thing that they are planning. So
Yeah,
so
Hello India will be starting its development centers, which is fantastic. See, basically, what happens is the All India Football Federation
yeah.
basically works on the national teams and works with state associations all over the country. But the state associations are responsible for raising their own funds to be able to run their programs. Recently, there was some um, program which actually gauged the level of work being done by all the different states. And West Bengal was number one, Maharashtra was number two,
Yes.
and Kerala was number three in their football development program. And
Wow.
I feel there is a scope for so many other states also to develop in football. However, some state associations are not capable of being able to raise the kind of funds that they need to be able to have some football development programs. In that case, if the Kelo India development centers actually come in those states and actually fund those efforts, it will be just fantastic. Because see,
Exactly.
at the end of the day, if you scout out a talented player from a state where the association is unable, for whatever reason, to be able to do a lot, that's for the benefit of the country. Because
Right.
eventually, if that kid actually lands up playing for the country and does well for the country, it's a win win situation for all. So I think
Okay.
it's a fantastic idea for the developmental centers to come up, for the age-wise competitions to come up. It's just all very good and very positive for women's football.
Right, right. So I think various initiatives taken in response or in direction to begin sports and promote sports is really doing good. And I think we can see, and you know what you're saying, in 2026, having 10 million followers, I think we're going to cross that bar, hopefully. Uh, Ma'am, talking about football in particular, what do you think? Is the major requirement, so like now we're talking that all the states and the union territories do not have football centers, and funding them is the best thing that could have been possible, which now we can see. So is infrastructure a major drawback? Because I think football field is the largest among all the sports, or is there something else that could also be focused upon?
See, basically, you have to consider. Let's look at a country like Brazil. Okay,
Hmm.
even in Brazil, most of the players have actually learned to play football in their backyards. Okay, you need
Yeah.
an open field where you can kick a ball around. You can make a make do makeshift goalpost with anything. It could be
Right.
two bottles, it could be two cans, it could be just two sticks,
Okay.
anything. Okay.
Right.
So, I mean, if you're going to wait for structure to develop the game in India, I think we'll be waiting for a very long time. I think it's very important for children to just start playing wherever they are playing. You know, the course of the game is so beautiful that it takes you to the next step every time. Once you start enjoying playing in your backyard, you start playing in school. From your school, you'll start playing for your district. From your district, you'll start playing for your state. And from your state, you start playing for your country. Of course, fantastic infrastructure all over will only speed up the development of this game. But I don't think
That's
it's
not
the
going to hinder
not
the
it's not the most important thing in my opinion. It's not the most important thing.
glad to know
Rather,
that.
I would rather say the most important thing is for children to get very good quality coaching. If you get a good quality coach, you know, a coach education program that reaches out to a lot of coaches all across the country who impart the right methods of training right from a very early age, that is far more important. And you don't have to have a fantastic stadium to be able to impart good training. See,
Right.
as you move up the ladder, you
Huh.
will receive that good infrastructure. But don't stop playing because you don't have that. Start playing, enjoy yourself, develop your skills, move up gradually, and eventually at the right time, you will get the right infrastructure.
Right. So, like you specified, it's not one of the hurdles, but it's just one thing that will happen over a period of time. So,
It will,
infrastructure,
it will.
it will. So, it's not going to hold back anybody for that matter who wants to learn and play football. Coaches is one
Absolutely not.
thing that we would want to focus upon. Ma'am, another thing, just moving ahead, moving backwards, when we were talking about participation, do you think that team games are more challenging over individual games? And that's one of the reasons that there could be, there might be people who would prefer an individual game because their performance and their efforts is what is going to depend on the outcome. Whereas in a team sport, you really are dependent on the all the team players, other members, their social emotional status, their physical status. So there's a lot of dependent things. So could that be one of the reasons, ma'am?
Honestly, I think both of them are very important. I think it is very important for every individual to do one individual sport and to do one team sport.
Oh,
Okay? Because I personally believe an individual sport helps you sharpen up your mental skills, your personal
right,
physical skills,
right,
and the time and focus that you invest into that particular sport. Whereas a team sport, if everyone in the team were to think in the same way, you have 11 fantastic players who are already playing some individual sport and can combine greatly together. in a team sport. I always advise all parents that get your child to play one individual sport and one team sport,
One team sport.
because both of them have their own advantages.
Right.
And you can actually cross between the advantages of a team sport into an individual sport, and vice versa, take the advantages of
Correct.
what you have become because of that individual sport into a team sport. I
Right.
think I don't think you can compare the two with each other. I think they both are they actually complement each other, and it's
Yes.
important that everyone does both of them in order to excel in both of them.
Nice, nice. Now, on that note, so being involved into sports, playing sports, and understanding the importance of it, I think that is the take-home thing that all of us are going to have. Whether it is lockdown, whether it is the normal conditions, please play. Do not have any age barriers to it. It's going to really help all of us. Thank you so much, Anjali ma'am, for this insightful session, with our students and your valued time and inputs about the whole game and the women's football. The work that you're doing is incredible. And all of us would really want to join hands and try and do our bit as much as possible. We'll be having more such sessions which will help us learn more about newer industries, connect to more people from various sports and cultures. The next session will be on at the same time on Friday, 31st July 2020 at 4:30 p.m. For further updates, you can follow the social media handles. And before we say goodbye, we would like to thank Dr. Mrs. Ansi Jose ma'am for her vision and allowing us to open the doors to a rising career in sports management to the youth. We wish to express our sincere gratitude to Ms.Anjali Shah. We'd like to thank the entire team of NASM, VGU, SGSU, and NAME to make this a successful webinar. A big thanks to all the attendees of today's webinar for the kind presence and for sending in some, few questions that we've added on at the last minute. We wish you all the very best for your career. Stay home and stay safe. Thank you.